everyone!
Hi everyone!
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to paint this beautiful realistic rose, and it's actually pretty easy to do. So if you're a beginner, I think this is a very good painting to attempt. So we're going to do something differently in this video. Before we attempt the entire painting, I'm actually going to show you how to paint one petal first. Because if you can't get that one petal right, there is no point attempting the entire painting. So, we just want to achieve everything in one go, but we don't want to do the groundwork for it. So here we're going to attempt one petal first. I'm going to teach you the nitty-gritties of it, how to control your water, how much paint to take. Then we're going to attempt one leaf, and then we're going to go ahead with the entire video. And I'm sure this is going to help you in no matter which painting you try to attempt. So without further ado, let's begin.
I'm going to start by painting one petal first. So here I'm using primary yellow. You can use any light yellow of your choice. So here you see that the paint is almost water-like consistency. It's pretty runny. We have to keep the first layer a little wet so that we can put more colors in it and let the colors flow. But you have to make sure that the water has to remain wet. Okay, ऐसा नहीं कि बस सूखा लगा दिया. You have to make sure that the paint is still wet on the paper, and we have to work quickly after that. Also, if you like what you see and you love the way I teach, it would really help if you could hit the like button and support my channel. Thank you. So now as you can see that the petal is still wet, here quickly I'm going to use pink. Now this is going to be a little more thicker than the initial layer, okay guys? And when I'm painting, I'm pressing it down so that it doesn't, spread uncontrollably. Usually क्या होता है wet and wet में, when you put the second layer, it just goes all over the place and you're like, oh, what is happening? So you just need to press it down a little bit, use a little thicker paint. And if there's too much water on your brush, just wipe it off with a tissue or with a towel, guys. I mean, I've seen so many people paint. They have nothing to wipe off the excess paint with. Like, that is not how you do watercolor, okay? You can see under my plate there's a black towel. I always use it to wipe. Alright. So now that the second layer is done, abhi tak the petal is wet, I'm going to use a very thick, like thicker than water in coffee. You see, the more thicker and the lesser water we have on our paintbrush, the less it is going to spread. However, it is still going to give us a wet and wet effect. So यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? I'm not putting too much water in my paintbrush. The paint is there, but it is less watery. So you can see that the way it is spreading, it's more controlled. I made a special video about this in my watercolor course. I don't think many people saw it, but that is like the foundation of how you do watercolor in no matter which subject you paint. So this particular dark pink that I put was like butter, almost like butter consistency, thick with less water. And now we are going to put the thickest. Now you can see this is my old palette. I'm using a very dense pink, okay? I'll tell you the name in my description. Here it is so thick, almost like thick cream. So you see it is still spreading wet and wet, but it is spreading so slowly. We can really control where we want it to go. So this is, when you understand this, watercolor is going to be super easy for you. Very, very easy. ये हमको बस समझना है that water plays a big role in watercolor. So now I'm going to show you what usually people do and what you should not do. So here I spread the first color. You see now there's a lot of water on my paper. Now I've taken pink. Now my paintbrush still has a lot of water, okay? And you see how it is spreading uncontrollably. That is what we don't want, okay? This is usually what people do. Now you see the yellow is completely covered. Now I'm going to put pink also. That also I'm going to not press it. I'm going to spread it uncontrollably. There's too much water happening. We haven't reduced the water in our paintbrush. And that is where a big khichdi has formed. And that's what we don't want. So practice this a couple of times. And when you get this down, you are ready to start the painting. Similar way, I'm going to show you how to paint the leaf. Here the first layer is going to be pretty liquidy. You can use any green, guys. Like left pe I use hooker's green. Here I'm using some sap green or mixture or something like that. Please don't be like, okay, I don't have this color so I can't paint. Just use any green that you want. You can even use Verdian, you can even use sap green, whatever you want. So here the first layer is pretty liquidy, runny. Now on top of that, I'm going to put a thicker mix with lesser water on my paintbrush. I'm going to press it down, add pressure. I'm going to make the stroke small so that I can control where the color is going. Now this is where my dark mix goes. You can see paint में पानी बहुत ही ज़्यादा कम है. I can really control where I want my color to go. I'm leaving sufficient gaps, highlights. Now in case it is too much, you can always lift it. I've done all these techniques, guys, in my watercolor course. It's all free on YouTube. You can have a look. You can see how I'm lifting it out so that we can add extra highlights in case you feel that you've covered it a bit too much. Now I'm going to use something sharp. You can use a fork. I'm just using a tweezer because I just saw that. You can even use your nails if you have long nails. I don't, unfortunately. I don't like to keep long nails. So I'm just scratching it out. Make sure that you don't press too hard, otherwise you might just rip the paper. Now that we have those permanent lines on our leaf, we can add more colors and more detailing to wherever we want. आप इस point पे leaf को ऐसे भी छोड़ सकते हो. And I just want to add more color. So this is how we're going to paint our leaf. Still the paint is wet on our leaf, so I'm able to spread it. You can see how I worked on my leaf here. Yours is going to be different than mine. Just do whatever you like. Add plenty of shadows and highlights, and I think you'll be good to go. Alright guys, major part of the painting, how to do it, I've covered. I'm still going to walk you through a little bit. So I'm going to attempt the first petal from the left hand side. And ऐसा नहीं है that we're going to paint it and we're just going to wait. No, we are simultaneously going to work on all the petals. अब suppose मैं left वाले पे paint कर रही हूँ while it is drying. I'm going to paint on the rightmost corner. Make sure you don't paint the petal right next to the wet one, otherwise वो सारा color एक दूसरे में mix हो जाएगा. So that's what we don't want. So here, the way I taught you, again, I am applying color very slowly. I'm leaving plenty of highlights and I'm pressing it down so that the water and the color spreads in a controlled manner. Sorry, I don't know what I was going to say. Okay, so here you can see you have to, on the safer side, just keep water less on your paintbrush, okay? Just squeeze it out, wipe it out, whatever you want to do. I'm going to apply thicker color here. I have to be very precise. I'm just doing a thin line. As you can see, the water is very less on my paintbrush. The paint is thicker, so I'm able to get a more controlled spread. Okay, so now while this is drying, like I told you, we're not going to stop. We're going to start painting the other petals. So here I'm going to go on the right hand side and start painting that. So we're constantly going to go to and fro on the entire painting. ऐसा नहीं कि एक होके खत्म कर दिया. No, after the entire rose is dry, उसके ऊपर भी हम थोड़ा painting करेंगे. That is why I said it is a 1 or 2 layer rose. So here you have to be a little more precise over, how you want to paint. Just keep the water really less, guys. I mean, that's the key. Alright guys, so this is pretty much how I'm going to paint the entire rose. Now I would suggest that you watch one petal nicely before you attempt it, so that you know what you want to do. Don't paint side by side. If you just watch the video once or one petal once before I paint it, you'll have an added advantage because you know what's coming. While painting, you won't be like, oh, ye kya ho gaya? Alright guys, I've gone ahead and I've added some green also on my first petal. Here I've applied a very thin layer when the bottom layer was dry. So you can see how the rose is really shaping up really well. Right guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. The video is almost done. The painting is done. I think I'm going to stop here because I don't want to overdo it, which is something which happens with watercolor artists. So anyway, I hope you learned something from this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like my content. See you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.